Hello and welcome to this short podcast discussing how to achieve performance excellence within your IT estate. My name is Ian Molyneaux and I head up the Performance Division of Intechnica. Intechnica as a company provide performance services to e-commerce, covering development and consultancy focusing on performance improvement. We're going to look at 4 topics in this podcast: why good performance matters and why it's hard to achieve, how to assess the current level of performance maturity within your IT estate, how to implement a strategic approach to performance within your IT estate, and finally, how automation tooling helps implement an effective performance strategy. Looking at the first topic, why good performance matters. First of all, what do we mean by good performance? This could perhaps be described as applications performant and available 99.9% of the time, end users happy and productive, and IT considered as delivering to the business. Every e-commerce business faces IT challenges, where website outages can be sudden, and they're often very difficult to predict. By ensuring that your level of performance assurance maturity is optimized, then the risk of sudden outage or performance capacity regressions creeping into your live deployment can be mitigated to a considerable degree. So how do we achieve good performance? Well, the key takeaway here is collaboration and an up-to-date knowledge about your applications. And this can only really be achieved if development, QA and operations and the business are working together in harmony. So how do we assess our current level of performance assurance maturity? Well, one of the services that Intechnica provides is by carrying out an audit of what we consider the 3 key pillars of IT: development, QA, and operations. Intechnica have developed a set of indicators for each pillar based on industry best practice and our own experience. By comparing the audit results to these indicators, the current level of performance assurance maturity within a customer's IT estate can be quickly determined, and a gap analysis carried out to identify areas where this can be improved. Once the audit and gap analysis are complete, the next step is to create an implementation plan. The key takeaway for this plan is also collaboration. It must be collaborative, involving all appropriate stakeholders and right across the IT estate. It must be cross-silo, cross-business unit, and it must have clear strategic and tactical goals. So how do we go about the process of improving the level of performance assurance maturity within the IT estate? What's the first steps? Intechnica advised the creation of a strategic performance office. This office is responsible for application performance across the entire IT estate. Separate from, but reporting to, the CTO, CIO, the Strategic Performance Office would be responsible for implementing the strategic and tactical changes indicated by the performance assurance audits. Secondly, we advise the creation of performance statements for all core applications. The application performance statement describes the characteristics of an application's behavior, footprint, infrastructure touchpoints. It effectively also describes what's normal performance for this application. Areas covered include scope, statement of purpose, business deliverable, application owner and the business unit responsible for the application. Moving to design, where the technology stack needs to be documented, any third-party integrations, the way the application uses memory, CPU and I/O. And in terms of operations, the deployment model, configuration required to deploy the application, what monitoring is deployed to monitor the application performance, covering server, network, client, APM, which is basically looking inside the application server layer, and we're indicated user experience monitoring, which is very important. Underpinning operations is a clear definition of the key performance indicators. This must cover client, network, server, database, third-party services the application integrates with, and any bespoke metrics that may be built into the code. There also must be a clear definition of the internal and external services the application interacts with. And finally, from a business perspective, what BI metrics are collected, the usage profile of the application, what are the peak events that it has to cope with, And very importantly, performance alignment with revenue. What parts of the application drive the most revenue to the business? Once the application performance statements are created, they can then be used to build and maintain load and capacity models for each application, which is very, very important in terms of accurate performance testing and capacity planning, and to identify and align application and infrastructure KPIs. This is often a frequent disconnect within a company's IT estate. There is often a mature deployment of infrastructure KPI monitoring, but there's not usually the same situation when it comes to the application. And application and infrastructure KPIs are frequently not aligned. If they're not aligned, then you're not getting a true indication of how an application is actually performing, and should problems occur, it makes root cause analysis very, very difficult. Finally, let's quickly look at the automation, or the impact of automation on performance assurance. Automation is key to maintaining a mature level of performance assurance within the IT estate. Returning to the three pillars concept again, looking at development, automation is required for efficient defect management. Tools must be provided to developers to allow code profiling to take place to ensure that code is being written in an optimal way. And automation of the build and deploy process is critical. In test, for functional and particularly performance testing, there must be the use of automation. You cannot effectively performance test without automation. It cannot be done. Automation is also increasingly important for functional testing to ensure that testing can be carried out in a timely and efficient manner. And then finally, in operations, user experience monitoring, particularly for e-commerce, is vital, and this must be combined with effective infrastructure monitoring and alerting to ensure that performance outages, as defined by the application performance statements, are detected and dealt with in a timely fashion. So in summary, integration of process and automation is key. It allows effective test-driven development, the implementation of continuous integration testing, and continuous deployment. And importantly, it allows the effective implementation of BAU performance testing. So the live deployment is periodically tested to peak volumes to ensure that performance and capacity regressions have not crept into production. So to summarize our short podcast, the key to effective and mature performance assurance maturity is collaboration, information, and automation. Cross-silo, strategic view of performance, up-to-date information about all the core applications, and the appropriate use of automation. That completes our short podcast. I hope you found it interesting. Intechnica will be very happy to discuss your own requirements around performance assurance, so please feel free to contact us. Thank you again for your time.